I think one of the hardest parts about infertility is just getting your hopes up. Every single month you think, this is the month. This month we did everything. I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't drink caffeine. We had the timing exactly perfectly. We did our ovulation predictor kits and we hit the exact window. And then I sat with my legs up and we did all the things. And then I did yoga and acupuncture. And you just think you can like
your life
manage
becomes the
this thing.
scientific method.
Yeah. And then it doesn't happen. And you're like, am I crazy? Like we did everything right and everything looks great on paper. But I think the hardest part is just having to pick yourself back up, because the cycle of, oh my gosh, it's gonna work, and then all of a sudden you get your period and you're pissed and sad, and now I have to go buy tampons even though I wasn't gonna buy any because this was gonna be the month. It just month over month is just harder and harder to deal with.
Back before we first started trying to have kids, it was, we liked to travel, we would go out to eat a lot, we had a lot of friends that we would hang out with on the weekends, and the usual, breweries and ball games and trips when we could get away from work.
All of a sudden it felt safe enough where we were like, oh, we have a lot of friends going through this, they're gonna help us figure it out. And then just time kept going by and we kept feeling like we were further behind.
You hear stories from friends that, it took us 5-6 months, but it happened. You're getting the usual unhelpful responses that, just keep trying, hang in there.
I didn't know if I would ever be pregnant, but I especially didn't know if we'd ever be able to get pregnant in our own bed. And that sounds really stupid until you're getting your blood drawn all the time and you're getting poked with different wands and getting tied up to all these different devices and getting tracked all the time. And the process is just so unsexy. And you think like, God, I'd love to just get pregnant with my partner in our bed, in our home, on our time, when we want to.
I was really buying into the optimism of the fact that this would work out for us. Because why wouldn't it? You don't think that there's a problem with anything in life until you are actually have to confront the problem.
At our lowest point, we had done our first round of IVF and found out that our 2 embryos were chromosomally abnormal and were not going to be viable. After all this money, all this work, all this time, we weren't even going to get to a transfer. Like I always thought, okay, maybe this won't work, but I thought it was going to not work a lot later. I didn't think it was going to not work so fast. And when we got that news, I was on my way to one of my best friend's bridal showers. And I was so unfun. And I couldn't get over myself. I couldn't be in the moment. And it was a terrible feeling because I felt like I was a bad friend. I couldn't be there for her. I was being self-absorbed. And no one really could understand what that felt like at all. I'm a pretty extroverted, open person, and vulnerability is tough, but it's not as tough for me as a lot of other people. And I just thought, God, if I am struggling with this, and I am actively seeking support, I have financial resources to deal with this. I have a pretty supportive partner who's awesome, and I have all these things, and it's still so hard. And that was when I thought, this is totally unacceptable. There are millions of people going through this, and just because you feel alone doesn't mean you are alone. And is there a way where we can connect these people? Wouldn't it be cool if there was some kind of service where you could get a fertility mentor, kind of like in Alcoholics Anonymous, you could have a sponsor. It'd be great to have someone who had gone through it, but wasn't actively going through it anymore. And then I started thinking about how would this actually work? How would somebody sign up, give their information, and then actually be connected to somebody who could really add value and listen to them in a meaningful way?
The current state of Fruitful is pretty close to our initial idea that we launched. We describe it to people as AA meets Tinder, just because that paints a really simplistic picture, even though that's not really what it is. But it is more like a dating app where you are filling out an extensive profile and giving a lot of your history and your current situation.
People sign up, they get an immediate email saying, thanks for signing up, you're now in the queue. They get an email when they've been matched, introducing each other to one another. They get an email 10 days later, hey, how's it going?
Where we diverge from things like Match.com is that we hand finish all the matches, and that meeting of art and science allows for really high quality matches, because having that human component at the end to say, you know what, these 2 people are a great match in the database, but reading through their profiles, I really don't think they would connect very well. So that has been a huge part of our success, is marrying the technology with the common sense of being able to understand what people need.
We had been up and running for about 4 months when all of a sudden it was time for us to have our first frozen embryo transfer.
We are reading stories, both good and bad, of positive and negative outcomes, and it's really hard to put those out of your mind.
After our first round of IVF hadn't worked in the summer of 2016, we did another round in the fall of 2016, and we'd had 3 genetically normal embryos that we froze. Fruitful had launched. We were making matches. We were on the news. Things were happening. We're getting momentum. We were showing up in different startup showcases and panels. And then all of a sudden, it was time for us to take that step and have our first transfer. And that was a really challenging couple months because I didn't want to get my hopes up. It was a weird week. I kept thinking maybe I was pregnant. Like I was feeling some twinges, and I was calling them like lightning bolts. But I wasn't really sure. And I'll never forget, it was the day of the call that our nurse was giving us, and Brad was making a salad for lunch, and I just looked at him. I started crying for no reason. He was like, "Oh my God, you're totally pregnant." I was like, "No, I'm not. Don't say that. I don't know." He was like, you are. Like, why are you crying right now?" I couldn't tell him why. And then when we got the call and the nurse said, "Your HCG is positive, you're pregnant," and I couldn't believe it. And then I had a very nervous 9 months waiting for the other shoe to drop and waiting for something to go really wrong. But she came and she was great, and I held my breath for 9 months.
Abby's been great. Yeah, I mean, we always knew we wanted kids, and it's been everything that we dreamed it would be and more. And I love spending every minute with her and, shutting that laptop and playing blocks or reading books, whatever we're doing.
I think because of my experience, my relationship with Brad and his experiences, I've felt very called to create this community. Even if we shut down tomorrow, we've helped 3,600 people. And that's good enough, and that's awesome. And it doesn't need to be Facebook or have some big crazy exit to be successful. That as it is now, it's enough, and it's just gonna get better and better.